Hey everybody, Fishman here, and welcome to the video. As it turns out, this is going to end up being a very busy week. I have time allotted now. The people are going to be in the office where the large paludarium is, and I can go in there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and put some bits and pieces in, test stuff out, attach some stuff, come back to the shop, of course, make some modifications, and do all that sort of stuff over 3 days, which is really great because that allowed me to get the tank up to a running level of water, not at full capacity yet, but up to a point where the filter will be running, it'll be installed, and everything then, of course, will be ready for fish and plants, which is excellent. I want to get there and get that part settled as much as possible. And then on top of that, I had this on Tuesday, which is, as you can see by this board, this is the last day that they were in the office, and since then it was locked up, and no one was allowed in because, well, you know the reasons. And about 2 weeks ago, the first clip you're going to see after this is when I got to see the aquarium, and then we made plans for getting it refitted, and obviously they're going to need a whole pile of new stuff because, as you're going to see, the water level is quite low, and it ran below the level for the canister filter, so it was running without any water in it for a fair amount of time, and of course burned out, so that sort of stuff will need to be replaced. And of course the tank itself is going to be an interesting shape. So here, let's cut over to that. I don't think you want to look at this for the rest of this. This is when I went in and looked at it. As you can see, it is probably the worst aquarium that got hit by COVID. There's a few plants that are struggling at life here because the light is on a timer and it still functions, so that's good. But again, you can see as we pan over to the right here, you're going to see that the intake for the canister filter, you're not going to quite see it on this one, but it'll come up here shortly. It is a good 4 inches under the water at this point, and then of course it obviously overheated and shut off, and most likely is burnt out. But I brought it back to shop. I'm going to tinker with it and see if I can get it working. I am putting a new filtration system in this anyway because there's a bunch of interesting things that we've talked about and want done. Oh, there you can see the intake pipe there that's out of the water. So that's what it looked like when I went to see it. So I went back on Tuesday this week, which is yesterday, and obviously there's no real change in it, but all of this needs to come out because they're having an inspection tour, one to get them ready to reopen, and all the important people are going to be there, and this has to be presentable. And one of the things they wanted me to do initially was just tear it all out, take it all out, and build an entirely new aquarium, and I convinced them that it wasn't necessary. I mean, this is obviously horrible looking, but it is salvageable, so that was my goal. Now I put this little clip in here because you see that discoloration on the rock at the bottom and to the left side of the rock at the top. That is due to the part of the water at the bottom went anaerobic because of the amount of material that was in there and the stagnation of the water. That color, if you see that on anything you pull out of your aquarium, just means that that part of it is gone anaerobic, and it's definitely a bad sign. So the water was so low, I didn't bother using a water pump for this. I just simply put a shop vac in there and just have a big honking shop vac. And I just pulled all the rocks out and then sucked all the gravel out and got all the all the material that's loose out of the bottom and off the sides and everything. And as you can see here, it is at the point now where I can get in there and clean it. And the easiest way of doing that is with this cleaning vinegar. I know a number of people have mentioned and tried out a bunch of things, from Barkeeper's Friend to lots of other stuff. This has no additives. It is straight 30% acetic acid. It is a little whiffy on the nose. Definitely use it with a fair amount of ventilation, but as you can see, this is just the first clean, and this is my first rinse, and you can see it's gotten off almost all the calcium stains and algae stains and everything else. I did one more of these. I'm not going to show all that to you because it is just, you know, rinse and repeat kind of stuff, but it did a wonderful job. I was really quite happy about it. So the other thing I did is, at gravel, which was anaerobic, I took it back. They have this large room for the janitor, and I was in there in the big floor set area for their set tubs, and I went in there and I washed in small amounts all the gravel to get all the material out of it and get it as clean as possible, and it was actually recoverable. It was fine. I mean, once you rinse it a number of times, it is actually the kind of thing that was easy to like get it to this sort of level where it looks like you just emptied a bag of fresh gravel in here, which is quite nice. So this is going to be set up with an air stone, as you can see here shortly, and then I'm going to let this run for about a week this way. It doesn't need it that much, but they're not actually allowed to open up with clients in here until I think it's mid-July, so I have some time. So I'm taking my time here. I'm going to be building the filtration system for this. It's going to be actually one of my under gravel filters that's going to go to a high humidity planter filter, and that is going to allow that. They don't want plants in the aquarium, because you can see the way that got really overgrown near the end, because well, no one was in the place and it was hard to prune, obviously, because no one was there. You're not going to do any of the pruning. So it got really quite overgrown, and they don't want that again. And when it comes to this sort of thing, when you're having an aquarium that you're not going to see very often, to keep it as clean as possible, I've meant to do videos for this for the fish room, but I haven't done it yet. And this is going to be one that I'm going to show you guys, I guess, through this method. I'm going to have what you would call a refugium section that's going to be above the aquarium. There's lots of room above this thing. I'll show you that as that gets built and shown when I get to that point where I'm building that. And I'm going to have a lot of plants up in there. And that, because the water is going to go through that, is going to allow for me not to have many, if any, plants really in the bottom part of the tank at all. They've decided they want certain types of interesting decorations. They want... This is for older people. They're thinking about getting like a large submarine, because there's some vets and that sort of stuff that go here. So I'm leaving that all up to them. And then we are going to do a teamed effort and go and have a look for what types of fish that they like. And based on that, we'll decide whether or not there's going to be any fish in this aquarium. So I'm going to hold off on all that until that point. So right now, I'm just going to leave it bubble with water, with air, and keep everything from turning over and get the filter running. And then if there's going to be plants in it, we'll decide at that point. So I'll end up with one clip here. I wanted to show you this last clip because this is a planter that I had put in there with some Vallisneria in it. And it has been in that tank for 2 years. And a good chunk of that time has been with no filtration, no nothing, buried under gravel, in the same place that I pulled out those rocks with the anaerobic bacteria, and you can see the discoloration that's on that. And as you can see, it cleaned up really nicely, and I'm very happy about that because I really like using the higher grades of acrylic, and this proves it's worthwhile. So thank you very much. Leave comments on what you think of this mess and how it turned out. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.